Hey guys, so I finally have my deck list ready for you. So these next two videos, I just wanted everyone to know that I really appreciate the time and consideration that you guys have given me, all the thumbs up, subscriptions, and inputs. I really appreciate it. To be honest, I didn't think I'd be making this video or the next video. I really wanted to play Sorcery with just the two decks that I had built. However, I've been slowly but surely like loving the game ever more, and so I have a little thank you for you guys. In this video, I'm going to be presenting you probably the second most competitive deck that you can build in Sorcery. Now, this is just my preference and opinion. You know, over time, I'm sure like people are gonna find outs to this deck. However, I wanted to make this deck for you guys, and the other deck that I'm gonna present to you guys is a fun build. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and hop right into this madness here. I also want you guys to know that this deck I absolutely just hate going up against. It's just hyper consistent. It's very powerful and very aggressive. It's fun to use, but it's really not fun to go up against. Without further ado, I present to you my Battlemage Sorcery deck. So for those who know Sorcery, they obviously have seen this avatar. It's the only current avatar right now with 3 power, and most avatars, or all avatars actually besides this one, only have 1 power. The reason why this guy has more stats is because of his ability. Of course, he has the basic avatar ability of playing and drawing a sight. However, whenever this battle mage attacks and kills an enemy, you may draw a card, or draw a spell rather. This is absurd because a lot of things in a format die with just 3 damage, and I'm just gonna lay this flat out. This guy is the win condition for the entire deck. It's kind of crazy because you start the game off with this guy as is, and just claiming him as your win condition is just insane. And as we go on in the deck list, you guys will see. So yeah, we're going on into the artifacts. Of course, the one Philosopher Stone. If you can play this, please play it at 1. It's just so good. And of course, we have the cores. Now, I'm not playing all the cores. I found out that there's some pros and cons of playing all of them. Obviously, if you have all 4, they generate mana. And of course, more mana accelerants means that you're able to cast your spells more efficiently. However, this deck has such a low mana curve that it really only just needs the 3. Of course, you could play the 4th one just to flex, but I feel like this is just the right number after test playing. So that's it for just our mana accelerants. The next 3 artifacts are super strong. So we have Screaming Skull, Flaming Sword, and Mask of Mayhem. Each of these artifacts essentially make this guy, well, more broken. I'll just put it like that. So for example, we got this Screaming Skull here. It says whenever the bearer attacks and kills an enemy, it untaps. So if my battle mage happens to kill an enemy nearby, I get to draw a card off of its effect, and with the Screaming Skull, it'll untap. That means if there's another minion nearby, I can go ahead and attack that. If I'm lucky enough to kill it, I will draw a card, and the Screaming Skull will activate again to untap it. Now, usually I found out that most of the time, your opponent won't have too many minions in play. If they do, it's probably a mistake against this deck because you're just going to give them more value. However, after it's untapped again, if you don't have any minions to attack, you can just use its basic ability to just play or draw a sight, which is just insane because you're able to not only draw spells, not only kill minions or deal damage, but you're also able to play a sight. That's literally everything that you want to do in Sorcery. You want to draw cards, fight, and gain card advantage. With the Screaming Skull and the Battle Mage, and with the right setup, you can do all the above. It's really strong. Flaming Sword here, it gives the bearer +1 power, and essentially it strikes all minions in the location that it's attacking, which means that potentially this battle mage with the 4 power, it can actually, you know, kill multiple minions at once, meaning that his triggers will activate drawing more cards. Essentially, you guys are getting the theme of this deck. You just really want to abuse the power of this battle mage and draw as many cards as you possibly can. Mask of Mayhem is pretty good for that. So whenever a nearby minion can attack, it must. Not avatars, because it only just says minions, which is pretty cool because you don't have to forcefully attack with the battle mage, even though you want to. But its other effect is what we're really concerned about here, because it says nearby strikes deal double damage. That means that this will affect the battle mage, and if this were to attack, it's going to deal double damage. So let me put this in perspective. If I have the battle mage, and if I attack an enemy's site, with this in play, they're going to take 6 damage. 6 damage off of one attack. That's almost half their health. And if your opponent has more minions, and if, like, let's say they have like a really strong minion with 6 power, this is just going to take it down, and then you're going to be able to draw a card. It's pretty nasty. Very, very nasty. Going on into the minions. Now, I had 2 builds for this. The original build had no minions because it was just all battle mage. However, I found out with some suggestions that these minions, they help dish out extra damage, and they also like put your opponent at a huge disadvantage. So for example, we have Men of Leng. I don't know about this card. In all honesty, I think that this card's a little too good for the game. Whenever it strikes an avatar, that avatar has to discard a card at random. So let me throw this perspective at you. We have a battle mage that's destroying my opponent's minions, drawing us cards. Men of Leng is attacking the opposing avatar and having them discard cards. So let's say they have a really bad opening hand, and this is already abusing its power, either attacking the avatar for damage or destroying their minions to draw spells. And then the Men of Leng is just putting them back because they have to discard cards. If you have multiple of these striking at the same time, that's where the mistake comes in. I think that that's where this card becomes too strong, because you can potentially discard your opponent's entire hand, and then this card is just going to win you the game by default. I've had people actually just scoop to this card. It might be a little too good. So I also wanted to go with a little bit of flavor for this deck. I saw that a lot of people were playing Voidwalk, and I think that's the right call. Voidwalk, being able to play cards in the void and then strike from afar, but not being able to be attacked is really great, because essentially this just gets by your opponent's minions. So Spectral Stalker, it's just essentially 2 mana for 2, and it has Voidwalk. Enough said, that it's just mainly in there for just the Voidwalk ability. The only other Voidwalk we have is Phase Assassin. This card's pretty nasty. It has Voidwalk, and then whenever it enters the void, it gains stealth. So potentially, if it lost stealth and it moved out of the void, but then re-entered the void because you moved it, it'll regain the stealth. It's anytime it just enters the void. Of course, you could just cast in the void too, which is really good. But a 3 power that's really hard to attack and target. It's kind of everything that you want in this deck. You really want just as much damage to your opponent as possible. We have Gyre Hippogriffs. To be honest, at first I thought that this card was really bad, but someone suggested it to me, and the Airborne in charge is just so good. Airborne is almost somewhat like Void to a sense, because your opponent just kind of can't really do much to it unless they have a specific card that gets rid of Airborne. But the charge, being able to come and play and immediately attack, is really strong, because potentially this guy can just end the game. It's 3 power, so it's kind of like a lightning bolt. Comes in play, deal the finishing damage if your opponent's on death's door, or again, like, it could just attack a minion right away as soon as it comes in play. So that's it for the minions. Only just playing the 4. Of course, Men of Leng being like the main one you have to play. The other ones are just in here just again to deal damage as quickly and efficiently as possible. I may have said this earlier, but every card in this deck breaks this card. And the next cards we're going to go over, which are the magics, these cards literally break this card. And again, like, you'll see how these cards like have so much synergy together. we're playing the 4 copies of Overpower. This is the only Earth spell that we're playing, but as the name suggests, this card's overpowered. It gives an ally +2 power this turn. Enough said. So, in this perspective, let's say you have the Battle Mage. You give it +2, so it's 5 power. You swing at your opponent's avatar to take 5 damage. If you happen to draw all 4 of these and use them on the Battle Mage and make 4 successful strikes to your opponent's avatar, 5, 10, 15, 20, that's 20 damage. 20 damage with just these 4 cards. It's really absurd. There was one game where I drew 3 of these, and I mean, yeah, enough said, it was really overpowered. Being able to boost the Battle Mage is, I think, a little too strong. You got 4 Critical Strike. So the next time an ally strikes a unit this turn, it deals double damage. Broken. So let's say we have the Overpower, giving the Battle Mage +2, making it a 5. If we played a Critical Strike, that means it deals double damage this turn. So attacking for 10 damage with just these 2 cards. 2 cards alongside the Battle Mage for 3 mana total does half of your avatar, or your opposing avatar's health. That's really strong. These cards really are, I think, going to be underrated, but these cards are really, really strong with this deck because it just puts on the aggression like really easily. You got 4 Blink, 3 Lightning Bolt, and 4 Grapple Shot. All of these cards are essentially just making extra damage. However, the Blink is really good because you can teleport the Battle Mage to a location, you draw a card with the Blink, and if you teleported the Battle Mage to a location where a minion is, now you can strike it, hopefully killing it to draw another card. So with this card, 2 mana, draw 2, and you're killing a minion. And of course, moving your avatar. It's so much value. The Lightning Bolt, just being able to finish the opponent off if they obviously don't have enough minions nearby. And also, sometimes just as a quick removal spell, essentially you don't really want to use this to kill minions because you really want the Battle Mage to do it. But sometimes you kind of just need to get rid of a minion from afar, which could be really good. And then Grapple Shot. So, this card is a hit or miss for me. I know I said that I really love this card, but in certain decks, it doesn't require you to play 4. I feel like 4 is a must in this deck because you're able to use it with the Battle Mage to just help it kill minions or help it strike your opponent's avatar really quickly. And yeah, some decks don't really have to play 4. Sometimes I say like 2 or 3 is a good number, but this deck absolutely demands 4. So that's it for just the main spellbook. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Attack, deal damage, and help the Battle Mage just do what it needs to do. The rest of the cards is just the Atlas. So we got Mirror Realm, Smokestacks of Gnaak, 2 Sinkhole. So I want to just go ahead and emphasize on these really quick. Mirror Realm is just obviously really good. Just being able to come and play and take a copy of any site and it becomes it is really, really strong. Smokestacks of Gnaak, I started playing this over the River of Fire, or River of Flame. Other nearby sites lose their abilities. This is pretty strong because if your opponent has like a Sinkhole or like a really important site, I guess, this can just come and play and just shut it down. Sinkhole, I can talk about this card all day. This card alone won me games. You know, if your opponent doesn't have the right threshold, and if they're already struggling with their draws, you essentially can use this to destroy their site, ruin their threshold, and now they're struggling trying to cast spells. I did that one game, and essentially, like, they just scooped afterwards. It's a really strong card, and I've actually moved this to 2 in all of my decks, just about. Playing 1 Rift Valley and 1 Cloud City. Cloud City is good because you can just move the Battle Mage wherever you need it to. Now, Rift Valley, it's a little interesting because, see, the only real reason why I'm playing this is, 1, because of the Earth threshold, but also because, let's say, for instance, like, my Battle Mage is here, right? And my opponent has these 2 sites and a minion right here. If I were to move the Battle Mage, I lose the chance of striking my opponent's minion. So having Rift Valley is super crucial because what it says is I can pull apart a land or site, make a void in between, and then thus put this on top of the void it just created. So that means that the minion is now closer to my battle mage, meaning I can strike it and then finish it off. That's really the only reason why it's in here, and I like it just for that reason because it catches a lot of people off guard. I've been playing the two Observatory and Crossroads. I've been really just trying to experiment with these, honestly. I think that it's good because when you play this, you can rearrange the top 3 spells of your deck and put them back in any order. And then Crossroads, when it comes in play, you look at the top 4 sites of your deck, put one on top and then the rest on the bottom of your atlas. I would have played a second Crossroads, but the problem is that it doesn't provide Threshold, and that's why the Observatory is at 2, because it actually does provide Threshold. However, being able to rearrange your decks is kind of crucial. I did lose a game, but literally on the last turn when I played this, I found the spell that I needed to give me the game, and if I would have had just one more turn, I would have won that game. I think the cards definitely have its own unique characteristics, and I feel like it's worth experimenting for the time being. We're playing one of each of the towers. I see a lot of people like sometimes will play 2 of these and like 1 of each. I think that's okay. However, my problem is if I have a dark tower and I've already used its effect, right? If I draw another dark tower and play it, I won't be able to gain the extra mana. So that's why it's kind of good playing 1 of each of these, because it essentially allows you to always guarantee adding that extra mana because you don't have to draw into the duplicates. And then for the rest of the deck, we got 3 Ruins, 3 Windmill, and then 2 Steppe. You know, just the double threshold lands, enough said, just for our elements. And yeah, so the deck is really, really strong, hyper consistent. You know, it's kind of everything that you want in an aggro deck. You want pressure, you want card advantage, and you want to put your opponent at a disadvantage as much as possible. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this deck list. I definitely enjoyed building and playing against or playing with this deck. I did not have fun playing against it. So just be prepared if you ever go up against the Battle Mage. I think its strong characteristics is, of course, itself. If you can control what the Battle Mage does throughout the game, then you essentially can have a better chance of winning against it. Because again, this is the win condition. If you keep this in check, you're good to go. However, if you underestimate this card, it's going to win the game in a blink of an eye. So, there you have it. There is my Battle Mage deck list. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a great week.